In previous chapter, we learned about the supply and demand, the role of government, and the core issues in economics. But since this is a microeconomics, we haven't studied detail about consumer. How can they make choices? Think about your daily life. Yeah, maybe 80% of your time are used to make decision. For instance, what kind of food should I choose as my lunch? If you go to the grocery store, you want to buy the milk. Which brand do you choose? And also, if you go to the department store and you want to decide, which brand of the clothes should I buy? So you can see every day you are spending lots of time making choices. So in this chapter, we will focus on talk about, or we want to learn how the consumer make choice. What is the underlying reason to motivate the consumer to make the choice? So obviously, before I start to talk about this chapter, you should know the prices are important in determining consumers' behavior. And the new product have to be priced correctly. The price could be set too high and suppress sales, or too low and suppress profit. So think about the price for iPhone. So when Apple launched the new iPhone, the price is super high. But now, if you look at iPhone 4, iPhone 5, and the price dramatically going down, so why they decrease the price? Yes, they decrease price because it will affect the consumer's choice. And in this chapter, we want to learn how the price will affect the consumer's choices. And in this chapter, we look at how the price affects consumer decision, especially from the three different aspects. First, how do we decide how much of any good to buy? Second, why do we feel so good about our purchase? And three, why do we buy certain products but not others? So generally speaking, we want to learn how the price affects our choice. The learning objective for this chapter, the first, we want to know why demand curves are downward sloping. So we've already seen the supply and the demand curve in previous chapter, but we haven't gone deep to talk about why the demand curve are downward sloping. Second, know the nature and the source of the consumer surplus. So now, what is consumer surplus? We will learn this concept, and we want to know the meaning and the use of the price discrimination. So maybe you are familiar with the price discrimination, or you are not familiar with price discrimination. No matter what, and in this chapter, you will know what is price discrimination. And if you will run your own business in the future, and you will find price discrimination really can maximize your profit. And the fourth objective is know how consumer maximize utility. Now, what is a utility? So the first concept we want to learn is what is utility. In this chapter, after we learn it, you should know the following core concept. The first is the utility. Under the utility, we will learn the total utility, marginal utility, and the diminishing marginal utility. And then we want to use a new way to interpret the demand curve, why it is downward sloping. And second, we want to know what is consumer surplus. How can we find the consumer surplus on supply and demand curve, and how can we calculate the consumer surplus? And three, price discrimination. First, we need to know the definition of the price discrimination, and second, we want to know under what condition the store can apply the price discrimination. So here I list the two necessary conditions for the store applying the price discrimination. One is no perfect information for the consumers. Second, the product should be belonging to the occasional purchase, such as a new car or vacation. And the fourth concept is how to maximize utility and how to find the optimal consumption of the goods, which also can be called what is the utility maximization rule. And five, we want to know the indifferent curve. For the indifferent curve, you need to know these two important information. First, the further the indifference curve is from the origin, the more total utility it yields. The second, when in different curve tangled and tangent to the budget constraint, we find optimal consumption. So that is for this chapter's core concept. The first concept we will learn is the utility.